All right. Uh, Today, I want to talk about uh, the consequences of the tariffs and all of this mess to the supply lines of the US. Now, as I said in previous streams and videos, the US's economy is deeply tied with other countries, both in imports and exports, in supplying industries and in business and manufacturers, all of it. Any car manufacturer inside of the US, he is producing cars made in the US, but the parts of that car come from other places, such as Mexico and Canada, to just quote the closest one. Not talking about the parts that are imported from China, from Europe, from everywhere. So, if you are imposing tariffs on your own supply lines, you can ask me this. Will this mean shortages? And I will answer you in this way. Considering the size of the country, the distances of the country, where main supply lines are made via rail and via roads, in some areas ships, boats, I would say that there is a very serious risk. Is it a complete breakdown? Probably not, because the country will have enough production to at least hold on during some times. But this will mean something, and this will be almost immediate if the supply lines continue to break down. This will mean less variety, higher prices, and also uh, if we could also add to this people going, for example, to a supermarket and filling their cars with toilet paper, bottled water, canned food, whatever. This will mean severe civil unrest, severe issues with law enforcement, and a lot of expenses, social expenses. And given that the central government is defunding the federal budget, the federal agencies, this will mean, and this is absolutely possible, almost 100%, that the government will stop having the ability to intervene in certain areas in relief for natural disasters, in peace interventions, meaning when the government needs to step up and solve a situation of looting, of high criminality, whatever. And since they are being defunded too, the local government, the local state government, will also find it extremely difficult to replace the federal government in those events. And also, you have to consider this with the diminishing of investment, of industry, of manufacture, of business, of tourism, the state governments, for example, Florida, good example, they will find themselves with a shrinking budget. Because if the federal government stops intervening in those areas where they need to intervene, and you Americans, you know better than I do that in certain towns, certain cities, in certain areas of your country, the biggest employer is the federal government, and it's natural. Okay, there are areas in Europe where something similar happens, where the state is the biggest employer, and the biggest investor. And this might seem like a bit of a, I don't know, you would call it a socialistic view, but it has nothing to do with it because it's just the state creating things, investing in infrastructures, in entities, in agencies that then feed an entire business behind it. The restaurant business, for example, the I don't know the services business, car renting, you know, public transportation, all of that. And I don't know why in your news most economists don't speak about this because I am certainly know it. You know, I did not finish my my degree. Okay, I went into university, but I had to work for a living to eat, so I had to go and work, and I didn't finish it. But I was educated enough to understand this, and I was good at economy, really good grades, but passed. And what I'm trying to tell you is this: why aren't they speaking about these true events? You know, for example, the ports. I saw news about the port of Seattle and where the person responsible for the port, I don't recall the name of the fellow, guy with some glasses and mustache like that, but he was talking about you can hear pinfall due to the lack of entry of of containers. What does this tell you? You think that when you pass with your car and you see a lot of containers in the port, do you think those containers are full? Do you think there is something inside it? Or are they just empty containers sitting in a lot? Because this is what is happening. And this is a part where I really think that shortages might happen. I don't think it will be an absolute shortage, you know, because there will always be a farmer selling beef, there will always be a farmer selling food if they are able to plant it, but they will sell it at a higher price because they will have higher expenses. Where does your potash come from? Canada. Is it still coming at the same level and at the same price it was before? A simple example. Okay. And what about the structures? The structures that are needed for farming. You know, the dams, uh, the rivers, the channels. Sorry, the channels for taking water for farming. The quality, pardon me, the quality of that water, all of that. How are you dealing with that? Because just in the time of Obama, they talked about this. They talked about the aging structures and that there needed to be a natural plan to renew the infrastructures in the U.S. Meaning infrastructures, meaning what? Meaning water, energy, roads, transportations, all of that. All of that needed to be refurbished, and that is a natural thing. You know, you either do a long time conservation, like we do here, for example. So we repair a road, and every 3, 4 years, whatever, what when it's needed, you go back to that road. You see the issues that the road has, and you correct them, and you continue. And if needed, every 10 years, 20 years, you do a major infrastructure change, renewal, let's call it like this, and you repair it for it to last a long time again. But usually you do that, and then afterwards you do the minor repairs that you need to know. But we are talking about a country that only uses roads and trains. The trains are used to transport cargo, but all the main transportation is done by roads. Because it's baffling because uh, American cities and American towns they are made for you to use the car. They are not made for you to walk, to use public transportation. And I'm talking about the majority, of course. The USA is a big place, so I'm sure there are places where you can walk, but even the term jaywalk, no. Around here, when you build in here, I'm talking around here, Europe, when we are building a road and infrastructure, we are thinking about the cars, we are thinking about the bicycles, we are thinking about the bikes, we are thinking about animals, we are thinking about everything because roads for us are not some kind of fascist army marching forward. No, no. Roads are utilities, you know? So, for example, even a highway, if you build a highway, you need to build an option more or less in the same way, path, let's call it like this, for people in bikes, in bicycles, walking, road transportation, whatever, for them to use. Sorry, my allergies. Excuse me. But in the US, you have this type of transportation that is actually very costly because you need to keep those roads, you need to keep those bridges that are under constant stress because there is no demultiplication of transportation, meaning there isn't, for example, uh, I will give you an example. I live around 20 kilometers from where I live. From where I work, sorry, around 20 kilometers from where I work. It's about, I don't know, a quarter of an hour or 10 minutes, 15, whatever, via car, and it's 30 minutes via public transportation. And if I use a bicycle, an hour and a half. I'm fat. Okay. And you can even actually walk there, but that will take a day and a half, you know. But what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that if, for example, I need to use a car because of my work, because of the time and all of that, and other issues, but I could use the public transportation. So that would be one less car in the road, one less car, you know, deteriorating the road. Each person that is sitting in a bus, okay, that is one less person deteriorating a road inside a car. And if you have a culture where you have suburbs with no corner shops, except, and again, I'm generalizing, I'm not saying it's like this everywhere, but you have suburbs, and then you have in the outskirts or in centers, you have all the shops there, and you go to that single place, you are not demultiplying, you are concentrating things. You are concentrating road deterioration, you are considering concentrating pollution, you are concentrating an entire range of effects that are related to that. So this is one of the things I think people in the US should worry, because in this type of culture it's very easy for supply chains to be interrupted. So there is a serious risk of this happening. Really, I think people should be worried. I think people should. I'm not. I'm not. I don't like to incite panic or incite whatever. But if you have chronic issues, I really think you should focus on at least obtaining at least 6 months of supplies for yourself to take care of your ailments, whatever they are, if it is possible, of course, because we know sometimes medical products, no, they have a deadline. You cannot buy them ad eternum. No, it comes to a point when they are no longer good for you. And also supply in other things, like I don't know, having some can and dry food around, having some kind of purifying mechanism for water. If you don't know how to build one, there are tutorials online in YouTube that you can see. Keeping cash on yourself. I'm not joking, because a power outage and your car payment is kaput. So keeping some money all the time in the house, enough at least to buy the immediate needs. And but this is common sense, This is something all of us should, even here in Europe. This is something all of us should have. We should all have these countermeasures. So, for example, I like to keep something. I like to keep a couple of bills inside in the house, so that if I need to go buy something on an emergency, I can go. Not that much. First, because I don't have that much money, and secondly, because it's not a very safe tool. Okay, but we always try to keep some dry goods inside the house, some canned food. No, luckily I'm in Portugal and we have excellent canned food. Excellent canned tuna, all kind of fish in a can that lasts us for a year or two or more, even sometimes. But keep some dry beans, some rice, some pasta, basic things that you can. There is an issue, you cannot get out of the house for a week. You have it all with you. Also, water. I don't know, batteries, candles, all of that stuff that I think it's needed and that we should get used to have in the house again, even here in Europe, because I have a feeling that war is coming. Oh, war is already here, but it's going to get harsher. Let's just say this. But that is for another stream. But again, uh, I think Americans should be worried about this. I don't think you should panic because it's a large country, okay, and solutions will present themselves. But I wouldn't personally, I would not be depending on others of my own safety. But this is me. This is my opinion. I would say that this will cause a shortage. When you start to feel the shortage in those goods that you don't need to live, that is the first sign. And from what I am told, that is already happening in some areas. Because after that, the rest will come. You but I would count on things getting really more expensive. I think you are into a rush a rough sorry you are into a rough ride. This reminds me a lot of what happened to the UK with Brexit and what is still happening to the UK with Brexit. Let's say it this way. When they began to have shortages in their supermarket shelves, even if their news didn't like to report on that, but no worries, my friends. Here in Europe, when I'm talking about Europe, I'm talking about the EU. We all saw it. So, I would say that you should, the Americans, you should keep calm, but be attentive because there's a lot of misinformation spreading around, floating in the airways. So I would be careful. Okay. The only thing I can do is wish you good luck. Good luck.